Welcome to the Long Beach Business Podcast. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of speaking to Louis Steven Parada Jr. about family. And we got really into depth. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned. You said it, we're live?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Welcome to another episode of the Long Beach Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jerry Robles, and then I have here with us today the distinct pleasure of having Louis Steven Parada Jr. Louis, how are you doing?
Good, Jerry. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Thank you for stepping in today. I know we had a busy day. It is Sunday. It's pretty late, 10:45 to be exact. Tell us, Louis. I just want to talk to you, just this like normal conversation. I want to talk to you a little bit about family. I know family has always been important to you. You're a strong family man. You, besides having and running, your business, you always make time to spend time with your kids, no matter what time it is. I've seen you post. You're here with your kids. You call your kids your best friends. Your twin. First of all, tell us, how was it when you had your first kid? How did it change you? How did you feel?
Yeah, so the first time my wife told me that she was pregnant, I said, "There's no way."
Your first reaction was, "There's no way."
I said, "There's no way. It's not mine." It was crazy. I just didn't think I was capable of being a dad.
And that was on your first kid, Haley.
Yes, correct.
So, having your first kid, you didn't feel prepared. You were 23, 24?
I was going to be 23.
23.
No, I was 23.
You're already 23. Okay.
Yeah.
So, still relatively young.
Yes.
And, a lot of people, even at that age, can say that they're still trying to figure out themselves, still trying to figure out how to grow up, how to, just become an adult.
Yeah.
And you're stepping into having your business. Now you're having your firstborn, not feeling really prepared. What was your biggest difficult or situation, or what was your biggest challenge with your firstborn?
I don't think we had a challenge, man. Actually, it was pretty exciting. We wanted to have a kid, so we actually planned it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But when my wife told me, I was like, "Wait, what?" But we did plan it, so it was exciting. A lot of late nights, mostly for my wife, because I would still sleep, dude.
Heavy sleeper?
Yeah. If I fall asleep,
you're out.
Yeah, I'm out. So she probably had it tough, but yeah, and she also helped me out too a lot because she knew I was working, and so she would stay up, and that way I was able to go to work fresh. I help out as much as I can, but I think when it first started, I wasn't a good dad. And yeah, it sucks, man.
How do you feel, from the things that you did with your first to now, with your youngest?
Yeah. I always include my kids in everything I do. We had a picture up here of Haley. She's probably like a year and a half, and I'm taking her to work, construction sites. Put her on the Bobcat, taking pictures of her. She's like grabbing dirt or whatever. And I have like another picture with Tyler, like framing a house. A week ago, I took all 3 kids to work. Like, I'm just always trying to, even though I'm busy, I try to take them with me so I can spend time with them. And like, they have fun. Like, they always want to be at the office with me. They look forward to going to the office. You saw Haley here last time till midnight. She's pumped. She's like, "I want to be here at the office with you, Dad." So it's good because what I want them to see is someone that works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important because, growing up, what you see is a lot of the times ultimately what you grab and what you imitate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a mirror. You see like, okay, that's what I have to be when I grow up. So, showing that's awesome. And that's amazing that you thought about that. And even the fact that taking your kids young to these construction sites, taking care of them and showing them like, hey, this is what Daddy does.
Yeah.
When I'm not home with you and Mom, this is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that we can put this all together so I can provide for you guys. And, it's funny when you said that because the moment that I walked into the office, our sliding door was closed. And as soon as I came in, she had her little, I think she had her headphones on.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, how can I help you today?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to see Louis." "Okay, what's your name?" "Jerry." all right, go ahead.
Yeah, that's Haley for you, man. She's ahead of her times. She's really smart, and she likes everything. And another thing too is that I have, and you've noticed it, but I have my kids wearing their company name on their shirts.
Yeah,
And Tyler calls it Haya for HTA, but every day he wakes up, he wants that shirt on.
yeah,
And so that's what I want. I want them to feel part of a company, because this company that we named is after them, my three kids, which is
yeah.
huge for me. But I also want them to see me work, the work ethic that I put into it, and also have them involved in this company, because it's something that I'm building for them.
And that's amazing, because I always see him wearing that shirt, and it's those things where I see him like he knows what it is. And
Yeah,
the other day we went to go eat at your house, and I was like, hey, what does that stand for? And he was like, oh yeah, this is all three of us.
yeah,
And he was excited, he was happy because he's probably I don't know if he grasps how big that is, but that's huge, and even the way that it flows really nice.
yeah,
And that's amazing, that you even had that idea too, that you wanted to do that. So that's awesome. And I mean, now your daughter, that she's growing up, she kind of sees a lot more stuff, and kind of, we call her the CEO.
yeah,
So even in that, and her, I feel like empowering her, letting her know what is it that you're doing, putting these little small things when she comes into the office, she sees already how business is ran,
yeah.
or how it runs.
So yeah, and I think it's huge, man, because I always tell her. She always tells me this. She says, "Dad, you don't even work. You have people work for you." I said, "Yeah, Haley, but that's how you should be. We take a lot of risk. We manage people, and we do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, it pays back more than being an employee.
Yeah,
And so that's what I want her to see. Like, we get to have fun. Like last time, I think I said, Haley, we're gonna go work. We get everything done. I'm taking you to the Lakers game. And this was right before this shutdown happened. It's like
yeah,
March 11th, and went to the Lakers game. We're basically on the baseline, courtside almost.
that's
And
awesome.
so she's experienced all these things. But I honestly would say that if I was a employee or worked at a company where I was, again, like they dictate how much you could make, you really can't have that.
Yeah.
And so, like, my daughter, she's like, oh, I like the Jeep. So I rented a Jeep, took her to courtside. This is the second time she's done courtside in a Lakers game.
And that's what I was gonna say. And when LeBron and AD came, to LA,
Yeah,
those tickets skyrocketed
yeah,
huge. And there's a lot of people that still even sat courtside, to be, and I'll be honest, I haven't even sat courtside.
yeah,
I've been to a couple games, but not too far out, but not too close either.
yeah.
So that's one of those things where it's like she's even ahead of me.
She's ahead of me, man. And, it's crazy because she's there, she's cheering, she's excited, and I don't think she knows what the value of tickets are up there.
Yeah,
But I think she'll look back and she'll one day say, "Man, like my dad, like he spent money on me. He took me to these and had these experiences, right?" And I think that she'll think back and say the reason why he was able to do this was because he did this, this, and that.
yeah, and I think that's amazing, because these are some of the years in these kids' lives that they'll remember, that they'll
Yeah,
hold on to. And even me, when I think about some of the times when I was younger, around that age, you know, it's things that you can't really forget. They're just stuck in you. They're engraved in you. So you be able to do that and kind of mold, and kind of like have these times in her head, kind of just stuck on there. It's very important for these kids,
yeah,
because it makes them remember, like, hey, when I was young, my dad was around. You know, a lot of times when I think about, like, my dad would come home from work, he would always bring us little things. Whether if it was like, I remember, like, my dad would buy us skateboards, because we were really into skateboards back in the day. So he would always kind of bring skateboard things to the house, whether if it's skateboards, soccer balls, whatever it was, because back then my brothers were heavy invested in playing soccer. So that's cool that you're able to kind of just put that into her memory right now.
yeah,
And like you said, that's something that she's gonna look back later on in life and say, like, hey, yeah, that's insane. I used to sit courtside at Lakers games with
yeah.
my dad. Dad would take me out, and that's the time that I got to spend with him.
Yeah, so those are little things, man. I always, for whatever, I always try to include at least one of my kids to do something. whatever we do, like if it's one day at the office, one day or going to Home Depot, whatever it is, just taking them and spending a little bit of time with them.
And another thing I want to ask you, and this is kind of moving to your to Tyler, um, crazy. You ask this kid, Tyler, hey Tyler, what's 12 times 12? 144.
Yeah.
And you probably ask someone right now, like a grown adult, hey, what's 12 times 12? I don't know. Let me get my calculator, and they'll start doing their phone. So, what made you do that? With Tyler, he's fairly young.
Yeah.
What made you kind of go through these steps with him to kind of start building that up from?
That was mostly, I mean, that's probably just Evelyn doing it, my wife. So she just started doing flashcards. Tyler was 2 years old, 3 years old, and she started doing flashcards. And then Tyler knew from, 1 times 1 and whatever, then started doing 2, and the 3s and the 4s, they got all the way up to 12. And so he's 3 years old. And we're like 12 times 12, 144, 11 times, and we'll start mixing it up. He's just answering.
Yeah.
So it's just that too, man. Like, my wife just also we have 3 kids, but she also puts a lot of attention to our kids.
Yeah.
And tries to help them out individually. I think too that when me being able to have the flexibility of like doing my own schedule and doing what I do, is that if I take one of the kids, it kind of like lessens the burden for her, so she could really focus on, hey, Tyler needs this, I'm gonna help him with this.
Yeah, and that's how you can tell good parenting, because she knows, hey, Tyler needs help with this specific thing.
Yeah.
Can you take these 2 kids and help me out while I help him with this specific
Yeah.
issue? Kind of seeing those things and not letting those little things kind of pass by. And one of the things that I also saw that Ava can read a book,
She's really smart.
and and she just turned 3, right?
Yeah, she just turned 3.
Turned 3, and she can pick up a book and literally read it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's crazy, man. Like but again, it goes back to my wife. She's always like on top of it and having them learn. Like my wife's like in our family, she's the most disciplined person.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's just like this, and we're gonna do this, and so she does it. And Ava, kids are smart when they're little.
Yeah.
One of the things I was talking to my parents about was that between the age 1 through 5, kids it's where they're gonna learn most of the things.
Mm-hmm.
But also there was a research saying that kids from 1 through 18, parents tell them no 100,000 times.
Yeah.
And tell them yes 5,000 times. So we are, without even knowing, we're shutting our kids down.
Yeah.
And so, because if you think about it, everyone says, "Oh, this kid's a genius." Every time there's a baby to like a 5-year-old, this kid is a genius. This kid is a genius. This kid's smart. This kid's smart. Yeah, they're all smart. I think every kid is smart.
Yeah.
But I think that parents shut them down.
Yeah.
They like that light switch just gets turned off because we're always saying no, 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 no all the time. And so that confident kid that was confident at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, later on they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And they grew up in defeat, and they never, 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 never recovered from that.
Yeah.
So we've kind of, me and my wife talk about this a lot, but we try to say, hey, we're not going to let kids be bad.
Right.
But we're not going to try to limit them either. Like if they're doing something, let them do it.
Right.
If it's something really bad, obviously not. And especially now in the earlier ages, obviously when they get older, they should know what's good and bad. But yeah, I think a lot of times parents and society just shut down the kids.
Yeah, a very, very topic that, you hit a lot of things that I want to touch on. One of those things that comes to my head is my little nephew. Probably not the best soccer player, and I'm 27, so he's 7 years old. And we're talking, and he came over to our house, and we were kind of laughing because his dad would tell him, he's like, hey son, show them your celebration. And when he scores, he mimics Messi, he Cristiano Ronaldo, and he'll do the little, he'll start walking. And I started laughing. I was like, hey, Nelson, like, what position does he play? And he's like, oh, he's defense. Like defensive players usually don't score, right? They're usually in the back.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said, he's like, hey man, look, I don't care. He's like, because what I'm teaching him is that he's the best, that he can be the best player that he wants to be, and he believes it. As long as he believes it, nobody can tell him otherwise.
Yeah.
He's gonna grow up believing that he's the best at everything he does, and he's gonna do it. And that for me was like, man, that's true. Because if you build up your kids that way, they're gonna start believing like, oh yeah, I am the best, and they're gonna start putting more work into it, until they become the best.
Yeah.
It won't happen overnight, but if they're committed enough, right, and they do it, that success is gonna come over. Mm-hmm. And one of the things there's something that I've talked about with my dad, and my dad always, kind of tells the stories about, he does a lot of boat maintenance. So when he sits down, he starts talking with his coworkers, and some of their coworkers take their sons to go work with them because for whatever reason they dropped out of school, got into some troubles, whatever it was. And he says that the son is cussing out the dad and the dad's cussing out the son, and they're always kind of taking that. And one of his bosses, and he was telling this last night actually, the owner of the company, his son started working with them. And when he was going to summer school, and when he was in summer, he wasn't really working, so he would go and work with his dad. And sometimes his dad wouldn't pack him a lunch or anything. He would ask my dad, hey George, do you have extra burrito? Oh yeah, Douglas, here you go, and gives it to him. And then his dad would come over and start just getting mad at him, start telling all this stuff. So fast forward to now, he already graduated from his doctorate and becoming a doctor. Mm-hmm. And that every time my dad always asks his boss, hey, how's Douglas? And that this guy just kind of like sheds a tear and just kind of puts his head down. And my dad generally wants to know how his son's doing. Mm-hmm. And he gets sad or kind of reminisces on the time of how he treated his son when he was taking him to work. Kind of thinking like his son was going to be a failure, was going to do that thing. And here he is, now a doctor.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it goes back to, especially like in the Hispanic community, a lot of times when your kid does something wrong, it is mental, you're dumb, you're worthless, you're not going to amount to do anything. And just beating down your kids, from the very beginning.
And then when they don't amount to anything, then again you start talking about them.
Exactly.
And so the thing is, you have to be building them up, man. For any kid, their parents are their heroes.
Yeah.
That goes to anyone. And so if you build them up when they're young, I'm sure they're going to be successful when they're older. And a lot of parents are just lazy. They don't want to spend time with them. Dad says, well, I worked. I came home, I'm done.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything out of like extra or whatever to spend time, like on purpose, spend time with their kids.
Yeah.
But it's a lasting effect, man, because generations are just being. I mean, you see now, the millennial generation gets judged a lot.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, who's the parents of the millennials? What do they do wrong? Because it doesn't just lie on us.
Yeah.
And it's the whole thing of maybe they put too much importance on work, or they put too much importance on sports, or they put too much importance on friendships, but they didn't build a family. And so families get really important.
And one of the things that I believe what happens too, and I mean, this can be one of the things, but sometimes parents feel, especially if they have kids young, that their youth was kind of just raising a kid. And now that these kids are older, in their 18s, 20s, mid-20s, whatever it is, now these parents are trying to live a life that they didn't get to live.
Yeah.
And it's not the kid's fault. I mean, he was brought into this world.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, like you said, who are these parents?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I mean, I'm 30 years old and I have 3 kids. My dad had me when he was 30. So, and I'm 30 and I have 3 kids now. So I had kids early, but for me, I don't see it that way, man. For me, it was actually exciting to have my kids young. And after we had our first kid, me and my wife were like, hey, let's have kids now.
Yeah.
That way we could, we're young, we have energy for them, and we're going to work our tails off. And then, let's say because Ava's 3, I'm 30. She graduates high school, I'm 45. Like, dude, I'm still young.
Yeah.
And they'll go off to school, they'll get married or do whatever they're going to do. And it's just me and my wife at 45, let's say 50 years old by ourselves now.
And now,
And now we could enjoy life with
exactly.
money in our pockets. Because honestly, a lot of people don't think this, but you don't have money when you're young. You're barely starting. You don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you do enjoy life, but you enjoy it by your like. If you're single, you're enjoying it by yourself, and if you're married, you're enjoying it, but you're kind of broke too.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna you have more chance of having money later than having money now.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just time and build. So for me, it's not. I mean, for me, it's actually we planned it this way. Have our kids young, basically get that part over with, and help our kids and do whatever we have to do for them, and then be able to us enjoy our life later on.
And you brought up an interesting topic. Bringing up your dad. You know, you're one of four. How was it for you growing up? With your dad, and how was that part of your life for you? What were some things that you remember that you can say kind of still to this day still hold important to you and to your life?
Yeah, I mean, my dad even now he still spends time with each of us. So I mean, that was always like, hey, let's go get a haircut together. Okay, we're going. And then to my brother, hey, let's go do this, and he's going, let's go buy this, or hey, I'm gonna go buy meat at the store. Let's go. So it's always little things. It doesn't have to be an outing. It doesn't have to be a theme park. It doesn't have to be a basketball game. It's just little 30-minute trips to do something, but you connect.
Yeah.
And with my sisters, the same thing. It was always that type of. And this is my dad and mom, not just my dad.
Yeah.
My mom's the same way. My mom would sit down, hey, let's watch a movie together. Let's do this. And so again, it's not like a material thing or an event, but it's just spending time together. And even up to now, they still do that. So my dad's always like, hey, where you at? I already know why he's calling me. He wants to go eat lunch.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, where you at? And I'm like, here in Long Beach at the office. You want to meet here in an hour? Okay, let's go. And so we're always talking. And he's, like I said, he's still, what I do with my kids is what he did with us. And my dad was extremely busy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right now obviously not traveling, but probably, he flies out 40 times a year, and it's even crazy. But even in high school, which he was traveling a lot,
Yeah.
he was always there for my basketball games. If I was playing 3 hours away, he's driving there. Him and my mom, they're both there, but they're going to games. They're like supporting, cheering. Like I think one time I got kicked out of a game with him. Like it's crazy, but he was always there, and he always found time to be there. And that's the same thing I want to do with my kids. What I'm trying to do with my kids.
Do you feel like your dad being there for all your games was important to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think when you're when you're in high school, I don't think you really care. Cause
Yeah.
I hear people like, "Oh, my dad was never there." I don't know if I really cared. Now I'm like, dude, like that's huge what he did. Because I think when you're there, you really don't think about it. But I think in your subconscious mind, like like it does stabilize you, right? Because you
Right.
feel like, man, he's here for me. But now I even appreciate it more.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things when you're in high school, you're probably thinking about dating, hanging out with your friends.
Yeah,
How can I spend less time with my parents so I don't look like a baby or like a mama's boy
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And, you try to uphold this image that you don't want to seem weak per se. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, mom, don't kiss in front of my friends. Like, all right, cool, thanks. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna go hang out with them. Is that cool? So I think that's one of those things, especially when you're playing sports, that you don't appreciate that time until you get older.
yeah. And the other thing too, by the way, it's that my dad's a pastor, and the church, that we have, and um, but also I think you can kind of say he's his own boss, right?
Right.
So he also has he also had that flexibility of like he puts in work, and you can see by the church he has, but he has flexibility. So, hey, I'm gonna go see my kid play, and he was able to go. And not a lot of parents have that because they
Yeah.
have to work their 9 to 5, this and that. So also that for me, and I see those things. I'm like, me as a business owner, I have that flexibility too. And so if I was an employee, I might not have the same time to spend with my kids, or the flexibility of
Right.
maybe going to a zoo on like a field trip, or going to this or whatever. But I have that flexibility because of my business as well.
One of the things that I'm kind of picturing now is there's a lot of similarities to how you do things and how I see your dad do a lot of certain
Yeah.
things. Your dad's very like, for instance, one of the things that happened, right? live stream goes down, easy fix, hop on the phone.
Yeah.
For him, it's just like it's common sense.
Yeah.
For one of the things that you exactly did for him too was like, hey, we don't need all this fancy stuff. Let's get a phone, stream it.
Yeah.
The people, all they want is content. The people, they want to hear you. You know, and that's one of those things that, like, and then going back, your dad, for, you know, being a pastor, somewhat being, you know, self-employed, have his own business, kind of had the flexibility to do a lot of those things with you, which now you're, you know, this is kind of what we're talking about. Beginning of this conversation is you kind of followed a lot of the things that your dad did, has done, and is doing.
Yeah.
And now it's like what you're doing exactly with your kids.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Someone had said, they had posted a comment on what is going on with this generation. This generation now,
Right.
millennials. What is going on with this generation? And you know, like they're out of control. They're doing. And I said, no. I said the problem is not the generation. The problem is the parents of the generation.
Yeah.
Because I follow what my dad taught me. You follow what your dad taught you. I feel like I'm somewhat a good person. I see you as a good person. It's all about the example that people set for you, man. And it's not kids that go astray most of the time. The parents might put a face out in the public.
Mm-hmm.
Privately, they're completely different.
Yeah, 100%.
If a kid doesn't have work ethic, the dad's lazy.
Yeah.
If the kid is not respectful, the dad's not respectful at home. It all goes hand in hand.
100%. And you know, it's true. You know, it's something that, you know.
By the way, our generation is the best generation.
100%.
We're gonna change the world, man.
Yes, sir. Change. and you know, that's, you know, bringing up where you're talking about right now. It's you know, a conversation that I just had with my brother, and you know, he said he's like, you know, and one of the things, you know, kind of growing up on like the east side of Long Beach, you know, we were surrounded by a lot of gang violence, a lot of, you know, gang members, and it's exactly what my brother said was, if you're, you know, either you're gonna raise your kids or the homie down the street is gonna raise your kid. Who's gonna have the bigger influence? Is it gonna be you as a parent, or are you gonna let someone else raise up your kids? And now one of the things, you know, like exactly what you're saying, generations in front of us are saying, what's wrong with our generation?
Yeah.
And now kind of looking at the perspective is, now us in our generation, how are we gonna raise our kids? Are you gonna be around to, you know, take your kids, you know, to field trips, to spend time with them, go to the park, play with them, whatever it is? Or are you gonna be the parent that's just so easy to be like, take my phone, get on YouTube,
Yeah.
and let YouTube raise your kids?
And it's true, because I have 3 friends. Two of these guys would come over to my house when I was between 8 to 10 years old, maybe. And 2 of those guys are in jail. One is in there for life. The third one is in jail for life. And so, yeah, we all, I mean, you can't say, well, yeah, your dad is this and that. And, dude, we're all around crazy things.
Yeah.
And, but you know, parents is important, man. The role of parents, the family, and all that stuff is really important. Dad and mom at home, it's important.
Yeah.
Those 3 kids, no dad at home.
Wow.
Single mom. And the statistics show that most of these kids are going to end up like that. And so family is extremely, parents, dad and mom is extremely important. And hats off to single moms, man. That's,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't know how that feels, and the pressures that they have, but it's crazy what they go through, and they just, you know, they hold their ground for their family. So dad and mom at home is tough. I can't imagine single mom, you know, raising their kids.
Or even now too. I mean, single dads.
Yeah, I mean now it's got into now mom doesn't want to be home, right? So now it's dad. But yeah, I mean, so I guess single parents. Hats off to them and what they do, because it's tough. Like I said, dad and mom at home is tough. I can't imagine just a single parent. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's very true. I mean, you know, I've seen, you know, that aspect happen a lot. You know, and during my time going to school, you know, a lot of my friends were getting pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about 14 to like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and now looking at 10 years later, you know, some of them I really don't have too much, you know, communication with. but I can imagine how tough it would be. Some of them got kicked out, and now trying to raise a kid on their own. It's
Yeah.
Man, that can be very very tough. So yeah, definitely, shout out to all the single parents out there. Um, yeah, and I mean, one of the things that I kind of going into, what we're doing now with the nonprofit change. George talked about a little bit, earlier, but what's one of the things that we're doing that really grasped wanting your involvement in the nonprofit that now we have started called Change.
Yeah, man. Just helping uh, kids, families, like we talk about underprivileged, that most of these people are going to come through a program or an organization, are going to come through our doors, are going to be kids that have one single parent.
Yeah.
And I think it's for us filling that void or stepping up to the plate and saying, hey, I got your back too.
Yeah.
And being able to provide leadership, guidance. Because those kids, like I said, I always go back and say, I'm going to keep saying it. It's not the kid's fault, it's the parent's fault.
Yeah.
And so if we could fill that void and help out, then that's what we want to do.
And having, like you said, having that support that you had, having both parents, and the same thing with me. I have both of my parents, thank God. Um, Being able to, like you said, be there for them. Because a lot of times now in this world, these kids, especially with, everything they're surrounding themselves wise, they already have a lot of stuff to kind of go through, especially because social media now is a lot more powerful. Yeah. And, what you're intaking in from social media is one of the biggest things you have to think about as well. Whether if it's negative content, what if it's, people bashing on you, bullying you, cyberbullying you, and then, just a lot of mixture of things that can go on. Sometimes they feel like there's nobody to reach out to.
Yeah.
So being able to show like, hey, we're here to help you out. We literally have your back.
Yeah.
We want to see you better because we've all three have seen different things going on in the community with friends, family, people being sent, to jail for life for a small decision, whether if it was impacted because, family not being at home, parents not being at home, being, in a home where, probably the parents didn't have the best financial obligations, weren't set right. And because of whatever reason, they have to live in a lower income city or, housing, being be able to be there and help those individuals is definitely something that I think it's exactly what the name is. We're gonna change, and hopefully reach a lot of individuals that can change the way that they're living their life.
Let me I spoke about this before, but I was studying at Long Beach City College. I got a job at the Long Beach Unified School District as it was special education, and I was a teacher assistant special education, special ed.
Mm.
And a lot of people might not know this, but under special ed, there is a classification, and I think it's called MD. I believe it was mental disorder or no. I think it was ED. It was something with mental disorder or emotionally disturbed. I think it was ED.
Okay.
And so being there was that I was able to pick up different hours of where I worked, and I would go to this classroom and then to another school next day, and back and forth. But I got picked up at a school here in North Long Beach. They had I think it was full-time hours for 2 weeks, and yeah, it was ED, emotionally disturbed. So I go there, 4th and 5th grade. All the teachers, they're all women, and all power to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking, where's the men? Because this is what happens, man. 4th and 5th graders. There's a 10-year-old in there, had gone to jail already for assault with a deadly weapon.
No way.
He was 10 years old. Lives in the projects or a trailer park. And I was like, hey, whatever his name was, I was like, hey, you have to behave, you have to. And a week, just a week of me being there, man, he completely changed. And you know, the administrator says, I know you're only part time, but we want to request you to be here full time. And I was like, why? She's like, there's no men here, and what these boys, and this is, you know, this is what the administrator is saying. What these boys need is a father figure in their life. And I said, okay. And then, you know, like, because there's a lot of politics into hiring and all that stuff.
Right.
So then I pick up my next assignment, and I'm up in East Long Beach. Same thing. You got kids, 14-year-olds, fully tatted.
Yeah.
They have weed in the backpacks. They have probably drugs. It's crazy. I'll bring him out. Yo, Jose, you can't be acting like that, man. Like, you have to be respectful, and you have to do this and that. And they're like, what does that even mean? They don't even know what that means. And yeah, so we're like teaching them. And so in that year working there, it's like made a lot of impact. But it's not just because it's me or what I'm saying to them. It's just because someone actually took the time to try to mentor them and try to help them.
Yeah.
My lunchtime, and people would look at me like, what the heck? My lunchtime, I wouldn't take lunch.
Yeah.
I'm out there playing ball with these kids. Mr. Lewis, can you play on our team? And we played 30, like, I'm dressed for work, bro. I'm drenched in sweat. And I'm playing ball with these kids. And I'm like building up, shoot it. Oh, and they miss. Don't worry about it, bro. Shoot it again. And I'm playing, and like literally people would come watch us play. But people don't spend, like, they don't want to invest in other people. And so that's where I kind of said, man, I want to do something that I'm going to bring impact to the community and kids like that. And the sad thing is, you know, being in Long Beach, though, Hispanics and blacks are like are the kids are affected the most here.
Yeah.
But I think Hispanics are probably more than blacks. And it's our own people.
Yeah.
And our own people are like growing up in these situations, and people getting murdered at 16, 17, 18 years old and going to jail for life. It's like crazy. But if someone would have intervened before, that probably would never happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I saw it there. Like, I went to work just to work, and I actually left really impacted just seeing what these kids go through. Like, you think you have pressure? I think I have pressure right now. These kids are 10 times, like, they're going through more stuff than we will ever go through at a young age.
Yeah.
So imagine dealing with these things at 15 years old and no one there to support them.
And when you think about that, you know, it's very, very sad to think about, you know, that there are teenagers going through this, because in theory, you're a kid.
Yeah.
You should be having fun. You should be out there playing basketball, soccer, whatever sport you want to play, or just hanging out with your friends, having a good time, building memories. And now you have this whole weight on your back. And that's what a lot of these kids, you know, you see them committing suicide.
Yeah.
Joining into gangs, falling into drugs at a very young age.
Yeah, man. There's a kid that he was like 14, sexual harassment. Grabbed the teachers behind. And I'm like, man, how did this happen? And then you know, speaking or whatever to someone, and says, you know that his mom used to get abused by his dad and he would see it. And then he goes do the same thing. And it's like, again, it goes back to the example of it. And it's just it's a generational curse, but I think we could come in and try to change that by being there and trying to fill that void, and teaching these kids what's good and what they could do to get out of it. And I think most of all, just tell them that they're valuable.
Yeah.
That they're important to someone, that they could do something in their life.
And in a lot of these cases, you know, it goes back to what I've seen. Building trust, especially with somebody that doesn't know you, can sometimes be tough.
Yeah.
Especially when someone's assigned to you. Especially when someone's already been to juvie, has all these problems. Now they're just looked as a problem.
Yeah. I have
a
crazy story for you, man.
Go ahead.
This guy says, hey, Mr. Lewis, what's your favorite cologne? I don't know, man, like Dolce & Gabbana. Oh, that's cool, bro. I said, yeah, man. Next day, Mr. Lewis. I'm like, yeah, I got you this cologne. I'm like, bro, you stole it. He's like, yeah, who cares? So it's crazy, man. But that's just how they grew up, and for them, it's easy.
Yeah. It's
A
normal.
lot of other these kids too, because of the system. I remember they would wait for the first of the month because they will get their checks, and they already knew. One of the kids told me he was 13 years old. I said, "Hey, Darius, I think, gotta do your homework, man. Do your work. It's not hard. Just do your work. I'll help you." I said, "Because if you do your work now and you keep doing your work later, you're gonna get a job and you get paid and you're able to be successful." And I'm telling these kids like this.
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't need to do anything, man." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I get my check every first of the month." It's already instilled in his head that without doing anything, he's getting the check.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy thinking about this because
13 years old.
at 13, now in his mindset growing up is, I don't gotta do nothing.
Mhm.
This check's gonna come my way. Literally, it just kind of paralyzes the greatness within,
Yeah, the growth and everything.
because now you don't want to grow, because you're like, you're telling me I can literally do nothing and pick up a check. Why work? Why do I need to work? I know how to hustle. I know I can go do this on the side. I can go steal. I can go do whatever, and I'll still be taken care of,
Yeah.
no matter what. And kind of like what you said, it's natural to them, and that's even a very disturbing thing to think about. That it becomes natural to you to do bad,
Yeah.
because again,
That's the way they were trained.
that's the way that they're trained.
Yep.
There's nobody there to show them growth. No one to kind of correct what is wrong.
Yeah. I was at a place, probably I think it was like a barber shop, and there was a kid at the chair, and the guy's cutting his hair, and he goes, "Hey, Junior, what time did you go to sleep?" I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning. And then his mom was there, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I go to sleep like at 9. I just let him stay up." The kid's 10 years old. She's like, "I don't even know what time he goes to sleep." It's crazy. And it goes back again to parenting and how you are with your kids. But this generation of parents, yeah, I think they're full of themselves. They want to, go out, party, date, do all this
Mhm.
crazy stuff. They leave their kids alone. They don't care about their kids. Like, how do you not know what time your kids go to sleep?
How are you not monitoring that to begin
There's
with?
no way. I mean, at 10 years old, there's no way.
Yeah.
And so that kid could be listening to weird music. He could be looking at porn at 10 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine what porn would do to a 10-year-old.
It can
Be
really rot in
crazy.
their mind.
They could, I don't know, be talking to people, someone telling them crazy stuff, and no one's there to monitor. I always, like I said, I go back to parents. Parents need to step up. They need to be parents.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think if we want to impact this generation, the next generation, I think we have to also impact the parents now, and then be able to impact the next generation, and hopefully they're able to carry these things forward with them.
Because it goes hand in hand, and and that's a really good point that you make. Not only catching the youth, but also helping out the parents, because what kind of role models did they have as well?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think about too is being able to speak to someone, having communication with someone, because sometimes these kids or these parents have so much stress in their head, going through their mind, running day and night, problems, whether it be bills, an abusive spouse or partner, thinking about their kids, bills, whatever it is. It can be 1,000 things running through their head, but no one to talk to. Now it's just all bottled up inside.
Yeah.
And now because you can't talk to no one, all this stress, all this emotion, all this just kind of builds up to the point where either the parent's going to act up, or even the kid that's 15, 13, whatever years old is now acting rebellious, and who knows when their breaking point will be. And when they hit that breaking point, what is it that they'll do?
Yeah. scary, man.
It's a very scary thought, and that's why I'm very excited. I know it's not going to be easy, and I know it's going to be tough, and I know that there's going to be cases where we probably won't be able to reach every single person or individual, teenager, mom, dad, whatever it is. But if we're able to make that impact, at least on one person, one life, the goal is to at least reach one person.
Yeah.
But if we can reach multiple individuals, even better. And that's why I love the name. I love the mission. I love where we're going. I love the team that we have, because all of us have a story.
Yeah.
All of us have a different way of thinking, things that we've seen, things that just kind of run through our head. And a father figure that I see who had an amazing father figure as well, and how you are with your kids. My brother in his situation, the things that he's done for the community, things that he's continuing to do, it blows my mind away, knowing just where we're at, where we're going, and the things that we're going to be doing. I feel it's going to be amazing. And thank you for sharing those stories, those experiences you've had. Just kind of goes to show that you're someone who cares, someone who is looking to build more individuals, change lives. And I think an amazing partner and a great father figure, a great business owner, a great friend, a great sibling, son, grandson. So, thank you for being a part of everything that we're going to do. Thank you for sharing those stories. I really appreciate it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say before we sign off.
Yeah, man. And, one of the hardest job I left was the district job, because I went in there, to make money, flexibility. Obviously, it was like part-time, but you could work up to 40 hours. And the last school I was with, the principal said, "Hey, I put in the request to have you here full-time." And I was like, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I could do it, because I was starting my businesses too. But now I think I'm excited for the opportunity to again be able to be engaged and involved in an organization where we could reach these kids. But I think, yeah, man, that was one of the toughest decisions, because I want to start my business. And I think now, even though I did leave and now I can do an impact, I think also having a business for me would also help out to reach more people now. If I would have just stayed there, probably my reach would have been limited, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so now just being able to do this, I think it's going to be a greater impact.
And, touching a little bit on that, and just to kind of piggyback off what you said is, exactly, it's timing.
Yeah.
And, you talked about this a lot. The last time we spoke is God speaking to you. And probably God had this opportunity for you to start your business, grow, because that's when you had your family as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now the experiences you had, seeing everything they did in the school district, but now knowing how it is to feel to have your own kids, and that bond and that connection, where now when we start this project and start reaching out to other people, the experience that you already have.
Yeah, it's completely different.
And like you said, that reach, and now that we have the resources, it's a lot much bigger than when you were already in the district. So I think everything has its timing.
Yeah.
And I think what a better time than starting now.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
No.
Episode, what is this, 102?
102.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
And thank you to everybody watching. Lewis, where can people follow you again?
Lewis Parada Jr. on IG.
On IG, there you go. And if you guys have any questions or
Long Beach Business Podcast on YouTube.
Long Beach Business Podcast on YouTube, Instagram as well. If there's any questions you have for Lewis, if you want to reach out, great guy, great mentor, great friend, definitely reach out to him. And then leave a comment below. What was your biggest takeaway from what you guys saw today? What are your guys' thoughts on generational parenting? Do you have kids? And what tips do you have for other individuals watching that have kids as well? And you can follow me at JRobX562, Long Beach Business Podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Love you guys. Stay tuned for your next episode.
See y'all. Stop it.